Hey guys, I am going to show you how to fully customize your projects from the Too Cool for School craft packs. So let's go ahead and jump on our computer and I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to do. Okay guys, so once you get on the site, you are first going to find the craft pack that you purchased. If you purchased all three, you will want to go to each and every one. But if you only purchased one or two of them, then you can go to those designated parts of the site. And if you scroll down, you are going to find where you can download a special zip folder that was made just for your craft pack. And after you have it downloaded, all you have to do is right click over the zip file and then you are going to select extract all. Then it is going to put it into a folder automatically. You can of course change that if you need to, and then click extract, and then you are going to be able to use anything in there. And once you have that extracted, you will click open the non-zip file and you will see where there is a font option that you can install, and there are a couple of SVGs available for you. So if you don't know how already, if you want to know how to download that font, you just right click and it will give you an option to install, but I have already installed it. Okay, so once you have your fonts downloaded, then you will be able to open it in your program. So if you already had your design program open, you may need to close it and reopen it so that way that font will appear the next time you go to use it. All right, so I am going to start out in Inkscape. Inkscape is a free program that you can use. It is an amazing program to design with, especially if you are going to be using your files for anything in any other program. So definitely recommend checking out Inkscape. And of course it's free, so that makes it even better. So let's go ahead and add in one of our files. So I have our All the Cool Kids file open, and you'll see where there are a couple of different options. There's one, All the Cool Kids for the back of a t-shirt, and All the Cool Kids, there is like a pouch. So that file will go with your zipper pouch on the opposite side, but I'm gonna do the All the Cool Kids for the back of a t-shirt today. So I'm just gonna click and drag it over into Inkscape. It will come up with a little pop-up. Just select OK, and you will see that it will have the default name of Noel. Obviously, this is for customizing, so that is probably not the name that you will be using. So if you just double click, you will see that this is already a text layer. So all you have to do is change the name. It's so easy. And so let's see, let's do the name Jackson. So I think that this is going to look really cool across the back of the t-shirt we're gonna do. And just so you know, this will not pop up unless you have installed that font. This is a font, so once you open it up into Inkscape, it will go ahead and default to the font that you're already supposed to be using for this pack. You can of course change it to something else if you want to, but this is just one of the fonts that was included for you guys. So once we have this all ready to go, you want to come up here and select your selector tool, and a quick little cheat to get the mat to match what your design is. If you hit Control-Shift-R, you'll see where it brings everything in, and you're not gonna have all kinds of extra space. So that way your sizing is going to be perfect. Okay, so now that we have brought that canvas up close to the name, we are going to convert this to a path. But first, we want to make sure that we weld. So weld is a very common word for connecting all of the paths, but in Inkscape, we use the word union. So you will come up to path and then select union. Make sure you have it clicked first. Okay, path, and then union. And then now we are ready to go. So we're going to come up here to File. We're going to export it. And this one automatically saved it as an SVG, but it may try to save it as a PNG or something else. So just double check and make sure that it will save as an SVG. And then we are going to rename it. Instead of bitmap, we are going to rename it Jackson. And I already have one on there, but I'm just gonna replace that. So now we are going to head on over to Design Space. So once you have your canvas open, we are just going to upload a new image, select Browse. We're gonna open that up and click Continue. Okay, upload that. Okay, so once it imports, it looks like it imported very large, so we just need to adjust the sizing. So this is going to be going on a large t-shirt across the back of the shoulders. So we want to do, I believe about 10 to 11 inches is pretty safe for across the shoulders on a large size t-shirt. So let's go ahead and do 11 inches wide. Make sure your lock icon is connected so that way it proportions to the height as well. So it's just over 3 inches tall. So I think that's going to be the perfect size. There is an option once you go to send your design to be cut out to mirror your design, because we are going to be using regular HTV, the one and only Caesar Easy Weed. So let's go ahead, flip it horizontally, and you'll see it just goes ahead and mirrors it for you. We're gonna select Make, and we are ready to cut it out. And then if you flip it on the canvas, just make sure that the mirror is toggled off, but otherwise we are good to go. All right, so you will have a full sheet of this beautiful pale blue, as well as a sheet of the lemon Caesar Easy Weed. I'm going to use this piece of pale blue that I have, and we are going to go ahead and lay it on our mat. Make sure you put the carrier sheet side facing down. Gonna load it in. And then for Caesar Easy Weed, typically the everyday iron-on is a great setting at the default pressure. Just know that sometimes your machine, depending on how new or old your blade is and a few other different factors that can contribute to any cutting issues you may have, just make sure you do your test cuts first. But we have done our test cuts and we are good to go ahead and start cutting. I'm also gonna turn on this fast mode so that way we can get this cutting even faster. All right, go ahead and pull it out, and then we are going to get weeding this design so that way we can get this t-shirt. Okay, so I'm going to be using my pin to go ahead and start weeding this design. And guys, when I tell you that they named the Caesar Easy Weed the perfect name, because this just pulls right off. It is literally easy to weed. I love it. All right, and now we are ready to press on our t-shirt. All right, guys, so now that we have our t-shirt ready to go, we're gonna go ahead and make the design for one of our planners. So I have Inkscape open again, and we are going to do a name for our teacher along with their classroom number on their planner. So we are going to go ahead and click the text tool, and we are going to put the name of our teacher. We're just gonna use Miss Johnson, and we are going to make this larger because it has started really small. So all you have to do is grab one of these corners and drag. Actually, you may see that it started to warp the font a little bit. So we are actually going to undo that action. I'm going to click on Control Z to put it at the last place we had it. So all you have to do is grab this corner here, and we are going to hold the control button. So right click on your mouse on the corner, hold Control, and then you can drag it out and it will resize for you. You can even resize it up here at the top of the little menu bar. You can change it from the default settings, which I believe most of the time it starts as mm, but we are going to change it to inches because that is the sizing that we want to use. And then you can just make sure your lock is turned on to keep everything proportional. So this right now is measuring about 5.5. Let's go ahead and just increase that to 6 just to get going. So I'm just gonna move it around on my screen, but we're going to change the font to the font that it was included in the Treat the Teacher pack. So we are going to double click and highlight our words, and then right up here, you are going to see the drop down to select your font. So you can either scroll through all of these, but this font starts with a W. So let's go ahead and type that font in. It is the Woodcutter Executive. So then all you have to do is click on it and it will change that font for you. Okay, so now we want to put her classroom number in. So we're going to grab our text again, make a new text box, and we're going to put room 101. And then we are going to come up here and change the size as well. Let's just put it at 4 because we want it to be a little bit smaller than what her name is. And you will see that it has already defaulted to that font, which is perfect. So you're almost ready to go. But let me show you a little trick to do with a template that I like to use to make sure that my spacing on my project is going to be great. So this is just a rectangular project. This little notebook is a rectangular size. So it measures about 8¼ inches by 4¼ inches. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to come up here and use the rectangle tool, and I am going to just draw a quick rectangle. And then I'm going to use my selector tool. I'm going to unlock, so that way this is not going to be proportional, so that way I can get the right sizes. I want my width to be 8.25 because I want my words to be going long ways. So 8.25, and then the height we are going to change to 4.25. Okay, so now we have a template to get us started, and I actually want to change this color. So this project is kind of a brown color, so I'm just gonna change it to that just to give my brain the visual it needs. One thing you'll notice too is that this is now the top layer. So what you will want to do is find your layer panel, can click up here at the top, and then select layers and objects. And then over here on the side, you will see where your layers are spaced out for you. You can see that the rectangle is on top and we need to move it to the bottom. So I'm just going to click, hold, and drag it down, and you'll see where the little green will kind of pop up to indicate where it's gonna go. Now that it is below our text, you are going to see where it is now where we want it, so that way we can properly measure. And then I am going to click on my teacher's name. I'm going to hold Shift and click on the room number as well. So for this, just so that way I can get a really good size, I am actually going to use my clicking and dragging to size it. So again, we're going to right click and hold the corner and then hold down the Control key. We're gonna bring it just to the edge here, let go of our mouse, right click and hold the other corner, hold Control and bring it larger here. So now you will see that it is going to fit very nicely on our planner, and Miss Johnson is going to be perfectly ready to make sure her notebook does not get lost. So we do not need our rectangle anymore, so we can go ahead and remove that. I just clicked on it and hit the backspace button. You want to highlight both of our text layers, and then we are going to come over to path and then object to path. And then we are going to hold Control-Shift-R to bring that canvas up close to our design. And then one last thing I want to do is I want to highlight everything, and we are going to keep this open so that way we can get these proper dimensions in Design Space, because it doesn't always import the right size. So I just want to make sure that everything comes up correctly. So now we are ready to export this design. I'm going to come up here to File, Export. It has already defaulted to SVG because that was the last thing that we saved as. But we're gonna click on our little folder and we need to save this as a different name. Gonna go back to our Cricut Design Space. We're gonna click Done. We don't need Jackson's name anymore, so let's go ahead and backspace out of that. And we're ready to upload our teacher's name. Now we have this uploaded, and I do see the size is a little bit different than what it was when we used our template. So I am going to keep these proportions locked, because once we change one side, it should automatically change to exactly what we need on the other. So let's grab this size here. And what I'm gonna do is highlight it. I'm going to use Control-C to copy that number. And I'm gonna come over here to Design Space, go to the width, and do Control-V to paste, hit Enter, and it automatically changes everything for you. Okay, and so this one, we don't need to mirror because we're using adhesive vinyl. So we are ready to get this made. All right, so we are going to use this beautiful purple color of StarCraft HD that came in the Treat Your Teacher pack. We're gonna load it in. And again, make sure you do your test cuts for your different materials. We already know that the vinyl setting for our machine is the perfect setting at the default pressure. And we're going to turn on that fast mode again and go. All right guys, so now that it's done cutting, I actually just realized I made a little mistake, but it's no big deal. I'm gonna show you how to fix it really quick. We're not gonna recut, but I just wanna show you how to prevent that in the future. So we are going to back up to our area. So if you go back to make, you will see on the mat where everything went up in this top corner, but it moved my room 101 over. So to avoid that happening and keeping it in the middle just like this, you want to highlight both of those, click attach, and then now when you go to make, you will see where it keeps that room 101 in the middle aligned with your name. But we're gonna go ahead, we're just gonna place it and we're gonna work with it, guys. All right, so I'm going to use my pen again, and we are just going to start weeding out our teacher's name. And for this, you might want to go a little bit slower with your weeding because the thin line around the name in this font, it's very thin, so you just want to be sure that all of those pieces stay where they need to go. And then we want to keep the outermost piece, so there is another thin cut line to give a little space to kind of give it that varsity look. And again, just go really slow because those thin lines can sometimes be a little bit trickier because thin lines can be a little bit challenging to cut, but as long as you just take your time, everything is going to turn out perfect. So my little dot here is giving me a bit of a challenge. So I have the innermost piece that I want to keep with its little outline that we want to remove. They are pretty well connected still. So I'm gonna use a pair of my tweezers and I'm just gonna grab that inner circle and place it right back on there. No big deal. So I realized on the first dough, I took out the wrong piece. So Miss Johnson's gonna have a little funky name, but that is perfectly fine. All right, so now that we have everything weeded out, we are going to use some of our transfer tape. This one is the Starcraft clear medium tack transfer tape. It is one of my favorites, so we are going to use it to place this on our notebook. And then we want to grab our squeegee. Want to make sure that we get a really good burnish, so that way the transfer tape picks up all of those thinner lines. And then I really like to flip it over and remove the backing away. If you kind of roll it back on top of itself, you will find that those pieces come right up with no issue. All right, so I also forgot that our room 101 is not really where I want it to be, so I'm going to quickly just take my scissors and cut that portion out, so that way I can just manually place it where I want it to go. And then just do this very carefully. All right, so I'm gonna put this over to the side for now. And so we have our notebook, and I want the name to go right underneath the seam of the notebook. So I'm gonna place that there. And we're gonna go for about the middle of our notebook. And once you have it placed, you just wanna use your squeegee, burnish it on really well, and pay careful mind to those really thin lines in this kind of font or any detailed design that you have when using adhesive vinyl, because the one thing about it is it doesn't have a lot of surface area for the adhesive to really grab a hold of the product it's going on, especially since this is not a completely solid object like glass or ceramic. It has a little more give to it. So although it will work, it can be a little more challenging for more detailed work. But once you are ready to remove it, same thing, I like to roll the transfer tape back on top of itself, so that way it releases those thinner areas much easier. All right, and then let's place down her room number, just right in the middle underneath her name. All right, and her notebook is ready to go. She has the UV DTF on the front, and we have our personalized Starcraft HD on the back using the beautiful font that was included in the design pack. All right, so now let's do the HTV. All right, so we have our heat press turned on to 305 degrees for our Caesar Easy Weed, and we have one of our t-shirts that we made with this All the Cool Kids craft pack. So we have our t-shirt, and we're going to put it across the shoulder blades with our name, but we want to get out any wrinkles or any extra moisture. So let's go ahead and give it a quick pre-press. But one thing I want to do is I'm going to make sure that the bottom of the collar, the front collar, is going to be hanging off of the top platen. And this is a really good trick to find really good placement. So then we have our area. Press just for a couple of seconds. It doesn't need to be too long. And you can see those wrinkles just came right out, and we are ready to place our name down. So I'm going to place it at the topmost part of the pressing area and place it right in the middle. And we're gonna press for 10 to 15 seconds for our heat press and the pressure that we have it set at, which is a medium pressure. I'm just gonna do 10-second press. Okay. And Caesar Easy Weed can be peeled hot or cold, so we can go ahead, remove that carrier sheet. We are going to grab our heat resistant sheet and give it another 10-second press. All right, and now you can see this beautiful pale blue is going to be adorable for this ABCD design. I think that is just so fun. So I hope that you guys absolutely love these packs and love the extra customization that you can do with these. I think that this turned out perfectly. Caesar Easy Weed, amazing product. Starcraft HD, amazing product. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions at all, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. And I hope that you have enjoyed the Too Cool for School craft packs.